Hello and a very warm welcome. In the incredibly complex world of international trade, success really does hinge on getting the small details just right. Today, we're going to zero in on one of those critical details, a small but really powerful rule in trade finance that can single-handedly decide whether you get paid on time or not at all. So let me ask you this. Why can one little phrase on a shipping document cause your entire payment to be rejected? It sounds a bit dramatic, I know, but this exact situation plays out every single day. You can do everything right, but then your payment gets held up all because of a few words describing where your cargo was placed on the ship.
And this is the core problem we're going to solve for you today. That simple on-deck statement creates what's known in the business as a discrepancy under a letter of credit. Now, this isn't just a minor typo we're talking about. It's a formal rejection that can freeze your payment and cause major disruptions to your entire supply chain.
So, to make sure this doesn't happen to you, here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, we'll dive into the core rule, which is Article 26A. Then, we'll unpack the crucial difference between the phrases are or will be and may be. Next, we'll clear up how this is different from the rule on clean documents. And finally, we'll walk through some practical real-world scenarios so you can see how it all works. Okay, let's get started. First up, we need to break down the foundation of this whole topic. Article 26A of the UCP 600. That stands for the Uniform Customs and Practice for Documentary Credits. This is the core rule that we really need to decode.
Here's the exact text from the rulebook, and its precision is absolutely key. In trade finance, every single word matters. I want you to notice the stark contrast here. The rule explicitly forbids one phrase while allowing another one that looks very similar. This distinction is really the heart of the whole issue.
So to put it in simple terms, just think of the bank as a referee. If your document comes in and definitively states that your cargo is on deck, that referee has no choice but to blow the whistle. They have to declare the document non-compliant and they have to reject it.
And this brings us to the most critical, most subtle part of Article 26. This is where a single word makes all the difference. You can think of it as the battle between certainty and possibility.
And this chart illustrates that distinction perfectly. On the left side, you see the phrases are or will be loaded on deck. This is a factual statement about your specific shipment, and for the bank, that is a huge red flag. But then you look to the right and you see may be loaded on deck. This is completely different. It's just a general disclaimer from the shipping line. It doesn't confirm anything about your goods specifically, and because of that, it's perfectly acceptable.
So why all this obsession with a few words? Well, it all comes down to risk. The standard assumption in shipping is that goods will be placed safely below deck, protected from the elements. Cargo that's put on deck faces immense risks. We're talking everything from saltwater corrosion and storm damage to the very real possibility of being jettisoned, which is when cargo's intentionally thrown overboard to save the ship in a storm. So this rule is really there to protect the buyer, making sure they don't unknowingly accept goods that have been exposed to all these higher risks.
Okay, now let's clear up a really common point of confusion. An on-deck statement is often mistaken for making a document unclean. But these are two totally separate issues, and they're governed by two different articles. Article 26 for on-deck stowage and Article 27 for clean documents.
Let's make this crystal clear. An on-deck discrepancy is a violation of Article 26. An unclean document is a violation of Article 27. Now, both of them can result in your documents being rejected, but they are flagged for entirely different reasons.
This table lays out the difference perfectly. Article 26, the one we're focused on today, is all about the location of the goods. Where are they on the ship? Article 27, on the other hand, is about the physical condition of the goods or their packaging. So an Article 26 violation would be a note saying, loaded on deck. An Article 27 violation would be something like, cartons torn, or barrels leaking. One is about where it is, the other is about its condition.
Okay, that's enough theory. The absolute best way to understand these rules is to see how they apply in the real world. So let's walk through three different scenarios.
So in our first scenario, let's imagine your bill of lading clearly states 500 cartons of electronics loaded on deck. This is an immediate red flag. The result is a discrepancy. And the reason is simple. The document is making an explicit statement that the goods are on deck, which is precisely what Article 26A forbids.
Now for scenario 2. In the fine print, there's a standard carrier clause that says something like, carrier reserves the right to stow goods on or under deck. You might see that and start to worry, but you shouldn't. The result here is perfectly acceptable.
And the reason is that this clause only says the goods may be on deck. It doesn't state as a fact that your specific shipment is on deck.
Our final scenario reveals a golden rule in all of this. Imagine your letter of credit has a special condition written into it that says, transport documents must not indicate goods may be carried on deck. Now, you present a document that has that standard may be clause we just talked about. What happens? It's a discrepancy. The reason is so crucial to understand. The specific instructions written inside the letter of credit always override the general rules of the UCP.
So, let's wrap this all up into a practical checklist you can use. First, never state that your goods are or will be loaded on deck unless the credit specifically says you can. Second, a general may be loaded on deck clause is usually okay, so don't panic. Third, and this is probably the most important takeaway, read every single word of the letter of credit. Its specific conditions are law. And finally, always remember the distinction. An on-deck issue is about stowage, not the physical condition of the goods.
And this brings us to one final thought. We've just navigated a rule that hinges on the subtle difference between are and may. As global trade becomes faster and more digital, how do you think rules like this could be simplified to reduce these kinds of ambiguities for future traders? Let us know your ideas in the comments below. If this breakdown helped you understand this tricky rule, please give it a like and subscribe for more deep dives into trade finance. Thanks so much for joining us.